What is your most bizarre experience going to the gym? I was running on the treadmill and there was this scruffy guy all hunched down like 3 treadmills away, and he kept loudly muttering to himself, "You can do it? You got this?" and making weird noises. He kept doing it for like 20 minutes. At first, I was like annoyed because he was rather loud and it was weird. But after about 10 minutes, I distractedly started thinking to myself, I can do this. I got this. He was unintentionally inspiring to me. Story 2. I swear my gym is actually a gateway into the Fae. One time I saw a fit man with impeccable flowing locks stare himself down in the mirror. He just kept saying, "Yes!" and growling a bunch. Then he went over to the stretching area and did what could only be described as jazzercise while listening to aggressive hip-hop on his headphones so loud I could hear it from the squat rack. Periodically, he'd holler out grunts and hype sounds and curse words with the music. I'm pretty sure he was a lynx in a human body. One time I'm on the bench and I hear 2 dudes. "You look ducking amazing, bro. You're the best looking dude in this gym." "Nah. You are, bro." I turn around after a set and they're identical twins. There's this old guy who wears a toupee to the gym. It's hideous, like he decided when he bought his wig. I'll be ginger now, but he's like a swarthy Mediterranean white dude. When he works out, the toupee wax that affixes it to his bald skull melts and runs down the sides of his head. He never seems to mind. Story 3. I got literally flexed on. I saw a girl who I mistook as somebody I knew went to say hi. She was cool about it, said it's happened before. Then a guy came over and said, "Something going on here?" and literally just flexed. I've never had a bad experience at the gym before, but this dude was above and beyond. Always see them together now. Dude must have some redeeming qualities about him. Story 4. A guy at a very nice luxury gym was not just dropping his squats. He was actively throwing them up and letting them drop 4+ feet to the safety rack, causing a ridiculously loud sound and a crash. When I asked him to stop, he was extremely aggressive and rude and said he had been a member for 10 years. Management ended up kicking him out about 10 minutes later. Story 5. Back in the early 1980s and late 1970s, I used to work out at Gold's Gym in a Western Canadian city. The gym was also the favorite workout spot for professional wrestlers when they were doing a gig in town. The weirdest thing was seeing how dramatically different some of these guys were in real life compared to their wrestling personas. One guy whose persona was of a British dockworker type would show up at the gym in a 3-piece suit. Edit, no, he didn't work out in a suit. And speaking the poshest of British accents, and was constantly giving other wrestlers investment and tax advice. Apparently, he was an accountant as well. What was surprising was that some of them weren't faking it, but in real life, they were as rude, selfish, and ignorant as their characters. I also remember how sad was seeing how some of the older wrestlers were really suffering from dementia, probably cumulative effects of concussions, and were literally guided through everything by other wrestlers, even simple things like getting dressed. I was impressed by the care some of these guys gave to their older colleagues who needed constant attention. However, the most interesting experience was Jesse Ventura. Of course, when the wrestlers showed up, they were generally followed around by a horde of fans, usually teenage boys. Some were hostile to their fans, telling them to duck off. Others gave a quick acknowledgement and then moved on. However, Jesse would spend an incredible amount of time with his fans, especially the younger ones, listening and talking to all of them with total attention. I remember seeing him trying to do leg presses while taking questions from a crowd of boys about what it means to be a man. Even back then, when he was just the heel Jesse the Body, out of the ring, he showed that he understood the impact that he could have as a role model to young men and took it seriously. When he became governor of Minnesota, I was definitely not surprised. Story 6. The woman who was hanging out in the locker room in her underwear. She was there when I came in, and still there an hour later. Someone told me she was probably an IG model doing a selfie photo shoot. Story 7. The Weight Witch. Lady walks in on a Saturday morning. I've never seen her there before. She was significantly overweight, but had on gloves and knee braces, so I figure she's a powerlifter on a bulk. I'm warming up doing some cable internal rotations and have my headphones on, so I don't see that she sets up at the cable machine behind me. I finish my set and turn around, and I see her getting ready. She's got a straight bar attached to the cable machine with the arm down near the ground and the bar on the floor. She half crouched, squatted in front of this thing, and I'm thinking she's about to do some kind of squat when she starts waving her hands. As in, the kind of hand waving a wizard does when he's imitating someone imitating Bob Fosse-esque jazz hands. I couldn't stop watching. She did this for at least 30 seconds before she grabs the bar to start her exercise. And when I say grab the bar, I mean pick it up with both hands, extend it until it gets resistance from the weight, and then start standing up and half squatting, crouching. She wasn't engaging any weight. She was just using the bar as something to hold in her hands as she stood up and crouched down slightly. She did this for 3 sets and then moved to some cardio machines. I saw her a few times after that, each time doing something equally nonsensical and always with the incantation hand motions. I miss her and hope she found a nice coven. Story 8. I go to the gym at lunch, and my office is somewhat close to a good-sized university. So some of the college students also gym there since it's cheap and close. One day, I was at the gym with a work buddy. We were alternating sets on the butterfly machine, which was right in front of a row of treadmills. There were a few folks on the treadmill. An older guy, I'd say, in his mid-50s, and two college-aged women 2 treadmills away from the older guy. They're wearing t-shirts and shorts of the local college. The women are running pretty hard, doing some interval work. After a few sets, the woman closest to the old guy lifts her shirt to wipe her forehead. Sweat off. She's not wearing anything underneath said shirt. The older guy looks over and notices this and promptly stumbles on the treadmill and shoots backward onto the floor about 5 feet. I am in the middle of my rep when this all happens, and I can't stop laughing. My gym buddy turns around at all the noise of the guy falling over. The 2 women immediately run to the bathroom giggling. I still wonder if this was all some kind of prank, or just an accident. Never saw those 2 at the gym again. Story 9. I was on the treadmill waiting for the only squat rack to open up. A guy was holding it up, talking to some other guy, and they talked for like 15 minutes. I was about to ask if I could work in, and then they started praying. Other guy put his head down, and squat guy put his hands on other guy's shoulders and started praying and doing that loud huh thing between sentences Southern Baptist preachers do. And then another guy walked up to get in on the action. At the loaded squat rack, I just went and worked my legs on the machines. Story 10. I remember a guy would spit and lick his hands before lifting weights or using machines and wouldn't clean it afterwards. Then even weirder, he would straight up moan like he was ducking while lifting the heavier weights. It was weird and gross. Story 11. Red hoodie guy would come into the gym always wearing the same red hoodie. He would hit the treadmill at 8 to 10 miles per hour and just go. He could keep this pace for 30 minutes, but never seemed to get exhausted. Here's where it gets weird. He must have had headphones on under the hoodie because he would air guitar and headbang the entire time. Imagine a guy running at full tilt while shredding on an air guitar, non-stop, for half an hour, not breathing heavily or grunting, before abruptly stopping and walking out of the gym. Story 12. Not really weird, but this huge guy was weightlifting at the gym I frequent, and he farted, and it was the longest fart I've ever heard. Like at least 30 seconds long. He couldn't stop giggling like a little girl, and then everyone else started laughing and clapping like he just performed a theater piece. It was surreal. Story 13. I saw a guy in the corner with a 1,000-yard stare just frozen in the locker room. I used to work with homeless and rehabilitation, and there's a certain look I've gotten used to that's hard to explain. It's the, I'm an addict, and I'm about to duck up my life and all the progress I've made so that I can score look. This kid had that same look. So I went over and talked to him, wearing a swimsuit, goggles, and my flip-flops. There's a certain pushiness that come with I'm a stranger who thinks you're about to duck up your life. So let's talk about it even though you don't want to talk about it kind of conversation. Turns out I was right. The guy had been clean for 2 months, and life was falling apart, and he just wanted a good score of subdistances. So I talked him down. I talked about how he had a bunch of white chips. You get a white chip for 24 hours of sobriety, but hardly, and reds, 1 month, or golds, 2 months. I told him that he's closer than he's ever been to getting a green, 3 month, and that I'd be thrilled to see him get that. I have a pretty clean keychain that goes through all the colors once. Different program with different colors, but same idea, which makes a pretty good conversation piece for folks waffling on recovering. I even had him hand over his stash, so he wouldn't use it once he got home. Edit. Thanks, kind strangers, for the awards and such. A lot of y'all were wondering if the guy is okay or what happened to the stash. As far as I know, the guy is okay. I never heard from him again after that day. But that tends to happen with addicts. They cut folks out of their lives when they want to move on to a better place or when they go to a darker place. I'm betting guy in the gym isn't someone he cared to keep around, as I'd just be a reminder of a rock-bottom low. As for the stash, it went into a locked dumpster at a restaurant. You can lift up the lid just enough to throw in a baggie. Story 14. A football team were training in the pool as I approached it to swim laps. They began yelling out what they wanted to do to me. Gym staff immediately asked them to leave when their coach apologized to me and asked me to ask gym staff to reconsider their decision. I wouldn't. Story 15. NSFW. Moving to a new place, no friends and nightlife, so went to the gym twice a day. One night I was closing the place down with a swim and was almost the last person in the building. Nobody in the locker room, but I could hear a shower on. Walked into the shower and assumed that some asshat had just left it on. As I got closer though, I saw a shadow. I just went into the shower stall I was adjacent to. Men's showers, so no doors. There was a man there leaning hard against the wall with a hard-on out front and one hand reaching down behind his back. When I turned on my shower, he froze, turned facing me in shock, and I watched a 10-inch dildo flop out of his butt and hang between his legs. He then proceeded to drop it and awkwardly try to kick it to the side so I wouldn't see it when he picked it up. I can't unsee it. Story 16. Skeleton of a man was psyching himself up for a 225-pound squat, Deep breaths, loud grunting, and smelling salts included. Proceeded to get under the bar, squatted what seemed less than a half rep, more like a quarter rep with bad form, re-racked the weight, and proceeded to yell, "Yeah!" as if he was at a powerlifting meet. I think he had too much pre-workout imho. Edit, because I'm getting harassed for being an asshole that was judging someone in the gym. Thanks for the PM's death threats, random people. Note, I was not judging him. I just made an observation and thought about how he was super amped up. Honestly, respect to that dude for attempting to squat that weight. He could tone it down slightly, but props to him for the attempted squat. Story 17. A buddy of mine went up to a girl who had been hitting the Stairmaster pretty hard. She was really grinding and sweating. So what was his pickup line? "Hi, you're really wet. They got married." Edit. Geez, this got popular? Now I have to tell him his story is literally the most popular comment I've ever made. He got the girl, I got the updates. Story 18. I was leaving the other day for the showers, and a girl, maybe 21, never spoken to her before, comes off the treadmill to speak to me, and the following conversation ensued. Her. "Are you going back to your car?" Me. "Yes, her. Are you parked at the one you have to pay for?" Me. "You have to pay for all of them, her. Is it the one outside?" Not multi-stories. Me. "There's 4 that are outside her." "Is it far?" Me. Explained the location to try and progress the conversation to a conclusion. Her. "Okay then, don't worry." Me. "Bye." No context, no nothing. To this day, I can't figure out what her angle was, but it was very weird. Edit. Seems she was either flirting, getting stalked, or trying to find the driver she hit. I'll take those odds. Story 19. I went to the gym at 3 in the morning once. As I'm walking to the weights to do barbell curls, I notice a man prancing to one of the shoulder press machines. Not walking, prancing. He then steps on top of it and starts dancing on the machine for about 30 seconds and then does the workout. After this, he starts skipping over to the dip machine, dancing around the whole thing before, again, doing the workout. Then he stands in the middle of the gym and starts shaking his ass to a tune. These dance moves went on for about 40 minutes. The kicker? There was no music playing in the gym and he had no headphones. I asked my buddy who worked there what this guy's deal was. I was told by him and a coworker that he refuses to look at people because he thinks they'll steal his soul through their eyes. He's a frequent at the gym, and everybody usually just tries to stay away from him. Story 20. I hate to run, but run about a mile a day at a 10-mile pace before I go and do weights. Like, I hate it so much, I wish for a heart attack to take me away at about minute 4. Any case, the treadmills at our gyms have big timers on them that are easy to read. I get on the treadmill one day and see that the guy beside me is running a 5K, a preset on the machine, and has been on for about 4 minutes, but he's going fast, like full-out sprint. I punch in my 12 minutes, 10-minute mile plus 2-minute cooldown, and start to run. We finish at the same time. Dude ran a 5K in about 16 minutes, full-on sprint the whole time. I was just kind of in a daze thinking about it for the rest of my workout. Story 21. As a wise man once said, "They gym has 2 types of people, men 65 and older and guys who cover their bananas. Maybe it's an age thing, but do not talk to me in a locker room. Frankly, don't talk to me at all, but especially in the locker room. If my dong is exposed to open air, that is not a time for a conversation about gas prices. Also, perhaps not weird, but definitely not expected. A few years ago, I was super intense of going to the gym. I went 5 days a week, had a personal trainer, the whole deal. At one point, I was getting off the treadmill, and a guy stopped me saying he had seen me at the gym before and could notice a marked difference in my physique and that I was working out really well and shed a lot of weight in like 6 months. I thanked him, mentioned some things I did, and moved on. But I always remember the random compliment that made me keep going. Story 22. There's this guy me and my old lifting partner used to call Asian guy. He's this guy that's like about 6'1" if I had to guess. Super lean, widest lats and biggest traps I've ever seen. Anyway, I always used to look forward to watching him lift. And for a while, would make sure I was scheduling when I got to the gym for when Asian guy got there, because for months, at least 6 times a week, he would exclusively train legs. And by exclusively train legs, I mean he would be at the squat rack for no less than 3 hours. I'd always just kind of hang around to see if he would do anything else a little after my own workout, and for that period of time, he never did. Until one day, I was doing a push workout and was doing lateral raises. I was using 15S or something really light for a warm-up, and between squat sets, he came over to the dumbbells and repped out like 3 reps of 50 pounds lateral raises. So I looked at him weird, and he saw me and ran over to rep out another 5 reps of 365 pound squats. I was so stoked. I saw him doing something other than squatting that I told my friend I saw Asian guy doing lat raises trying to one-up me, and he responded by saying he did the exact same thing to him with the exact same exercise. Anyway, after a few months, he started doing an actual normal rotation of push-pull legs, which was far less entertaining, and somewhere along the way, he started using locker number 69, which is the one I usually use, so I've started trying to go before he gets there. I miss Asian guy. Story 23. There's this guy that does interval training on the treadmill hilariously wrong. It looks like he's trying to imitate Roadrunner from Looney Tunes. Imagine someone upping the speed on the treadmill so much that they have to hold on to the railings to keep from flying off. That's how this guy sprints on the treadmill. The stride of his legs is ridiculous as well. His heels are legit halfway up his back on each stride. Story 24. I recommended that the guy on the bike next to mine start going to a church. I'm an atheist. He just talked to me a lot, and the impression I got from it was that he was really religious and really lonely. Story 25. I go to the gym, put in my headphones, listen to metal, and disappear. It's my zone, my world, where I get to hurt myself in peace. 3 days ago, I got Drew out of my hurty place by a woman standing and waving in my face. Apparently, she thought I was starting at her and her sister. I wasn't even facing them. I told her I don't care that she exists and to go tell a manager. She began to insist I must be gay if I wasn't looking at her. I shrugged and put my headphones in and went back to work. Story 26. Gyms are notoriously where the odd people congregate around here. My brother and I would always try to keep track of the different oddballs at the gym, including Asterisk the Mirror Man. No one knows if he actually lifts at all since he spends nearly all observable time flexing and checking himself out in the mirror. Asterisk the old book lady. Literally came to the gym, changed, sat on the end of a bench press bench, read from a book, changed, left. Never talked to anyone or exercised at all. Asterisk the Flipper. Guy hung around the free weights. Never lifted anything, but really liked his music. Every 10, 15 minutes, he would randomly do a backflip. That was his workout. Asterisk the Hot Chick. The girl in yoga pants and a sports bra would set up at the squat rack opposite of the benches. She would play on her phone, sometimes for close to an hour, until a specific large guy would start doing bench press. Suddenly, she was doing low-weight squats and some random hip thrusts right in line with him, taking breaks between sets. Everyone knew why she was there. Asterisk the Zumba guy. This one isn't a specific guy, but there always seems to be one guy in every Zumba class. He's always super into it, and it flows through him and his interpretive dancing. Story 27. It's a contrast. One time, I walked into the changing rooms, and there was the hairiest of gorillas washing his bollocks and asshole in the shower. No curtain, no shame either. Mortifying. Then there was the machine where you squeeze your legs together, conveniently placed directly opposite the chest fly machine. A woman decided to descend upon said machine whilst I was doing flies. Unbeknownst to her, or so I thought, she had the largest of moose knuckles occurring I have ever witnessed. She then proceeded to operate the machine, and what I witnessed can only be described as someone smashing a Big Mac between two ham joints. What's asterisk weird asterisk is the smile she gave me, completely unaware of the metaphorical culinary catastrophe going on between her legs. Story 28. Climbed on a treadmill and started walking to warm up. I usually do intervals where I walk quickly for some time, then jog, then go back to walking. I'm the only one on a treadmill in a row of 8 in a pretty empty cardio section. Guy walks up and sets up right next to me instead of any other treadmill. Then he proceeds to try to race me on the treadmill. I had my headphones in listening to music, but I turned it off because I had to listen to this man start to grunt and then holler, curse. He's going full sprint, sweat streaming off of him, splashing the treadmill, splashing me, but he couldn't let me win. He had to beat me. Petty revenge, but I stayed walking on that treadmill for much longer than I normally do. I like to think I helped him set a personal best. He didn't clean that treadmill after he staggered off too. Dirty git. Story 29. There are always a few strange people in the gym I go to. There is the one old guy who wears karate attire that smells like he has never washed it. He proceeds to put a ton of weight on the cable lat pull down and will kind of hop up and get it back. No form whatsoever. He does do dragon flags and other pretty crazy ab stuff, though that always impresses me. But probably the worst thing I saw was a woman who had her 4-year-old daughter literally sitting in her lap with an iPad while she benched. I get the whole needing to work out, but not having the time cause of kids, but at least have her sit on a nearby unused machine. Story 30. I'm probably somebody else's weird gym experience. I was listening to Robert Frank's rap song, Toxic Masculinity, during my incline DB press set. The gym is empty. Only me in there. Final set. I throw the weights down and shout, his famous line size is the prize. Swole is the goal, Mr. Ducking Chest Day. Turn around, take my earbuds out. The PT is showing around a few shocked new clients. Oops. Story 31. I was asked if I worship the devil while getting changed one time. I have a tattoo between my shoulder blades the guy thought was satanic paired with my back hair. I just responded with, what a strange-ass question. He then pivoted my necklace and asked if he could have it. He walked off after I said no. Edit. This comment has as many upvotes as any piece of art I've ever posted here. I think I'm doing something wrong. Ha 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 ha. Story 32. This fat guy who looks like Tony Soprano, but twice as hairy, is always in the changing room, but naked. No matter what time of day I go to the gym, he's there and naked. He just sits there, sweaty. Only time he puts a towel on is when he's in the sauna or sometimes the steam room, because that's the rules. Anyway, one time I came to the gym kinda late. I finish a workout and go to the steam room and he's in there chilling. I didn't recognize him at first because it's so steamed out. After a few minutes, he strikes up a convo with me. He's Greek, owns a successful restaurant, semi-retired, etc. Pretty cool guy. I didn't even realize he was butt naked until he got up to leave the steam room. He stopped to say one last thing before he left. His banana was head height at that point. I was sitting down, and it really wasn't chill. Story 33. I was toweling off after a shower in front of my locker. My junk is pierced, so it kind of makes a lot of noise when I do. This caught some old dude's attention, who then proceeded to call his friend over. So I got two old guys asking me a ton of questions about my banana. I swear they were like an old school comedy team. One was a lawyer, the other a doctor. One's granddaughter was brought up because she's into those kinds of things, then decided not a good match. Because I'm actually older than I look. In the time it took me to finish getting dressed, I swear my abs got a better workout than any ab routine, all because some old lawyer didn't know guys were getting their bananas pierced. Story 34. Not sure about going to the gym, but while at the gym just a couple of weeks ago, this guy calls across the gym to another guy and says, "I can smell you from here. Do you play lacrosse?" To which he replied, "I played when I was younger." First guy says, "That's what I thought. You smell like dry cum." There were probably 12 people in the gym, so random. Story 35. I'm a guy. Some other dude kept staring at me and making me uncomfortable. And not staring sexually or just randomly side-eyeing. He would lift and stare at me intensely while he lifted, like he was mean mugging or trying to intimidate me. Well, it worked. I felt violated and went to work out somewhere else in the gym. He wasn't even a big guy, just creepy. Story 36. I like to go after lunch, so I skip the lunch crowd, and it's enough time to work out before the after-work crowd rolls in. Usually, it's just old folks and gym rats at that time, so it's great. There's this elderly man that wears khakis, a button-down shirt, and a sweater vest while working out. Story 37. Maybe not that weird, but something I noticed recently. I mind my own business at the gym, not there to chat, make friends, or find a date. There is a girl there that I noticed who is always there alone and quite pretty. Every time I see her at the gym, it's just a matter of time before some rando comes up to talk to her. She has this pained look on her face like she wants to be polite, but it's clear she doesn't want to chit-chat. I feel bad for her, and for anyone who has to deal with this level of unwanted attention. Story 38. Back when Maya was still legal, used to take that and get tunnel vision for 3 hours working out. Felt like a superhero. Then the rest of the day would be brain dead, all in the name of gains. Story 39. The gym I go to is full of regulars in a well-off suburb in the Midwest. Everyone kind of knows everyone from the community, and you eventually get forced to know each other. I have tried on several occasions to ignore most of these people there, but you eventually get roped into some convo, then introductions, and before you know it, the whole gym is calling you by name. One evening, an older guy who I had never really talked to other than a hi or bye is lifting like usual. I no longer see the guy and think nothing of it. Some time passes by and I'm finishing up, heading to the locker room, and the guy is confidently standing outside the locker room naked. He just seemed to be going about his day. If you have ever seen a case of acting like you belong, this would be a textbook case because he walked past several other people who didn't even say a word. Immediately, I beeline to the gym staff and tell them because there are kids who occasionally come to this area and there are also women around. The guy proceeds to hold conversations with other gym goers, banana out and everything. They try to corral him into the locker room, but he doesn't seem like he wants to go. I did my part, so I just go sit in the sauna, and by the time I come out, the paramedic is there and they are asking him questions. The staffer I alerted to what was happening said they think he had a stroke. I now see that man almost every day, and we have not mentioned that day at all since. We are more talkative than ever, greeting each other daily, sharing quick work stories, but not a single word about when he came out the locker room and stood in the middle of the weight room butt-ass naked. Story 40. I got off work at 1 a.m. and usually would go to the gym since no one would be in there, or if there was, it would only be a few people. I like to start my workouts with a quick cardio session before I would go into the weight room. So had my headphones in, music blaring. I walk into the cardio room to find a couple making out on the treadmill, like laying down on the belt full on makeout session. I stood there frozen thinking they'd stop because they were caught. Well, I was very, very wrong. I turned around and just went home. To add on, how gross people sweat on the belt, and the belts very rarely get cleaned, or at least at every gym I've been to. So I hope those people enjoyed getting hot and heavy around in hot and heavy people's sweat. On a different occasion, I went in during the daytime since I was only going to be focusing on cardio that day. There was only 4 people in the room and we were all just focused on our music or the shows we were watching on our phones. Well, here comes this lady. Hi, Pony. The shortest shorts. A shirt made for a toddler with boobs the size of said toddler. She looks around the room and picks the treadmill in front of the only guy in the room. She throws her leg on the railing and stretches while looking between her legs at the gentleman. She then turns around and bends over and hopes the man would look at her cleavage. Spoiler, he didn't. She starts jogging, but only for 2, maybe 3 minutes, making sure to throw in extra bounces every step. She again throws her leg up to the gods and hopes this man will announce his love for her. She then starts coughing while bending over trying to get the guy's attention. During this time, I'm just looking around the room wondering what the duck this lady was doing, and the other girl in the room is doing the same. He finally takes his headphones out and very loudly says, "Can I help you?" And she stands back up and says rudely, "Not with that attitude, you can't." She steps off the treadmill and storms out the gym. The guy said after she left, "I'm just trying to finish this episode of Criminal Minds with no interruptions." Story 41. While it didn't happen at the gym, I started receiving texts from a random number offering me money in exchange for time with my feet. Turns out one of the trainers at the gym had been crushing on me, and one day he saw my feet in sandals while at the gym, I was going to yoga, and went full-blown stalker and pulled my number from the front desk computers because he just had to have them feet, _ All the numbers he texted me from were fake or something, along with fake names and fake photos he sent trying to entice me, so the gym couldn't do anything about it. Needless to say, I don't work out there anymore. Story 42. I was in the locker room of my gym washing my hands when I looked over to see an older Asian lady, fresh from the pool, crouched over, drying off her pubes and ass region with the public blow dryer. Mind you, she is butt-ass necked, blowing direct heat onto her long black... The smell? Oh, the smell. Story 43. I was doing bench presses, had no headphones on, and there were these 2 dudes talking about what kind of 18-plus movie they like. You'd think they'd whisper this, but no. It was just casual talking. Then this one dude says he can't get it up naturally anymore, so he'd been experimenting with pills to see which one would work for him. I had to move to another bench after that. Story 44. IF was finished swimming and went to the locker room to shower. I finish and grab my things. Some ladies will walk nude the few steps from the showers to the lockers, but I always used a towel. Good thing, as a man came in the shower room. I didn't know if I should scream or what until he saw me and froze. He was just new and thought that was the exit. He ran out and I never saw him at the gym again. Another time I went to swim and kept hearing a high-pitch, click, whistling sound. Turns out it was an older man trying to get my attention. We were the only 2 in there, so I ended my set early and then cried in the car for not standing up to him for his inappropriate behavior of preying on young ladies, or at least telling the gym staff. Story 45. There's some random guy at the gym. As far as I know, and he has confirmed, I don't know him. Every time I see the guy in the locker room, he keeps trying to strike up a conversation with me. He doesn't do this with anyone else. You will see him changing quietly to himself, saying nothing until I walk by. Then he starts talking to me. I'm not terribly comfortable talking to strangers in the locker room beyond telling people I'm almost done with my locker when it's busy so they can take over. I walk past the guy multiple times in the gym, and he doesn't say anything. In the locker room, I walk past him toward the showers, and he doesn't say anything. It's not until I'm on the way back ass naked with nothing on but a towel that he wants to talk. He's also persistent. I ignore him. He keeps going. I try to politely hint that he's bothering me. He keeps going. Story 46. There's a kid at the gym that always shows up with his mom. He's maybe 11, 13. The mom is fine. The kid, ducking unsettlingly weird. He always walks on the treadmill next to mom but never walks forward. He walks sideways or backwards, but that's not the weird thing. He will lock eyes with anyone who looks at him and just stare. This goes on the entire time. I'm a dude and he'll stare at women or men, doesn't matter. So I don't think it's a puberty thing. It feels like a horror movie in there. Story 47. Old guy at my apartment gym, whom I had never met, claimed he had prophesized for me. Proceeded to tell me that I had a bad relationship with my father. I do not. That there was a problem with my friend Tim. I don't even know anyone named Tim. And some other random crap. Nice guy, but piss poor on the prophesy bit. Story 48. Dude on the Stairmaster next to mine was listening to music using his phone speaker. His music was loud enough to drown out the music on the gym's PA system, and I could hear it even though I was wearing earphones. I asked him to turn it down. He ignored me. I told him he was being rude by making everyone around him listen to music they probably didn't want to hear, especially since the gym offered loaner headsets to people who forgot to bring their own. He suggested we step outside and settle it like men. I said, "I've heard of fighting for your right to party, but I've never heard of fighting for your right to be an asshole." He didn't think it was as funny as I did, and despite my effort to lighten things up, seemed to want even more to step outside. I declined, but said I would be willing to bring our disagreement to the gym staff and live with whatever decision they made on how to settle the dispute. All of a sudden, he looked like he was about to cry. He apologized and said he had had a bad day. I said, "No worries." I went back to exercising, and he left. Problem solved. I give him credit for apologizing, but it was ducking weird. Story 49. When I was 18, had a job that gave benefit of a free membership to a large local gym. My first time working out in public. I was on the bench when a woman a few years older than me that was very hot seemed to be staring at me. I was shy and trying to focus on my workout. I'm not start a smooth, casual conversation type. I had to switch to being on my stomach and doing a leg workout because I got a stiffy and had on sweatpants. It was awkward as hell. Story 50. Doing inclined dumbbell curls. You know that chair with the tiny seat and the backboard that's leaned back? I'm doing 25-pound curls for reps. One arm at a time, I'm resting the other arm with the dumbbell resting on the very tip of the little seat between my legs. On my second or third set, just as my arms begin to get wobbly, I slam the dumbbell onto the little seat and pinch the tip of my wiener. I look around, get up, rack my weights, and wipe off the seat. Go turn in my towel and collect my car keys and make my way out to my car. As soon as I close the door, I light up a cigarette and scream at the top of my lungs for 30 seconds. Story 51. One day I was in the middle of a deadlift set, and this guy asked me to take a video of him doing pull-ups. I thought it was rude of him to interrupt me in the middle of a set, but whatever, I'm a pushover. I recorded him for about 2 minutes as he did a set of pull-ups, gutturally screaming with each one towards the end. Super weird. I guess he took this interaction to mean that we were now acquaintances because every day after that, he would walk uncomfortably close to me, circle around me during sets, mumble things at me, and stare at me. The idiot didn't know I could see him in the mirrors. I kept my headphones in playing nothing, and a lighter set of weights next to me at all times. So if he came close, I could pretend to be in the middle of a set to deter him. One day I noticed he was bothering another woman at the gym in a similar way. Her and I kept glancing at each other and mouthing, "What the hell?" at each other in acknowledgement. She told the gym manager, who gave him a warning to leave us alone and to stop screaming during sets. He flipped out and started swearing under his breath and purposefully shoulder bumping her in passing as she continued her workout. The gym manager came over and immediately kicked him out and revoked his membership. While he was being led to his locker by the manager, he looked me straight in the eye and screamed something incoherently about all the ducking escorts in this gym. Story 52. A fairly muscular man lifting on an incline bench. What I assumed to be his girlfriend walked over to him mid-lift, reached up the leg of his shorts and groped his crotch for like 10 seconds, and then left to go do her own thing. I'm guessing it has something to do with that one study about how having your so near your crotch or whatever helps you lift. It was weird how casual and open it was in the middle of a YMCA. Story 53. I live in a hotel permanently, so I know who the temporary ones are at the fitness rooms versus the regulars and semi-regulars. One particular month, there was this kid. He probably was just trying to be funny. Heck, he could have been a psycho. Who knows, really? Kid didn't get to stay on for longer, and no one at the gym or the rest of the hotel had seen or heard from this guy after 3 to 4 weeks. Anyway, Kid would walk in as if he'd known everyone from the cleanup staff to the oldest of old members. It reminded me of when Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man was strutting his stuff, full of confidence. This kid would start with Westcourtver was closest to the doorway. If you were doing your squats, Kid would be extra friendly and would ask you what your goals were and coach you on the spot regarding how to have proper squat form. If you were taking a water break by the cycling machines, this kid would chat you up as if you were longtime besties. He'd high-five Westcourtver would give, and not give, high fives back. He would do all of this, and probably more, when I'm not around and headed to the sauna and pool areas, every single time he would visit the fitness rooms. When Kid left, I asked the trainer who I was chummy with, and ended up being my boxing spar mate. Who was that kid? I've never seen him before. Trainer replied, "No clue either. Been working here for 14 years and never seen that person until today." Story 54. I was going to my private country club gym a few years ago when I was about 17. The gym is never busy and I'm almost always the only one in there when I go to work out. The gym is not big, about the size of a living room in most people's homes, but has everything you need. There is also a closet for spare equipment, which I had never thought anything of. Well, I got to the gym pretty late, and as always it was empty, and I began to work out while watching the Monday night football game, without headphones on. I began to hear some noise of rustling in the closet, but didn't think anything of it and just kept working out. About 5 minutes later, the country club manager comes out of the closet, followed by one of the bartenders at the club. Both saw me looking over at them and just stood in silence for a few seconds. They both knew me and my parents very well. Before the manager, M, pulls out his wallet giving me a $100 bill and says, "I trust you, Ryan. I've never spoken a word about it and spent that $100 on some quality alcohol." Story 55. Was at the gym once doing my typical routine when I see my low-key gym rival. Does all my lifts but heavier, way bigger than me, etc. I see he had big headphones on and I can hear a beat from where I'm standing. When I finish my curls, I go to put the dumbbells back on the rack and decide to listen in to what this beast uses to pump up. Turns out, Half-Thor Jr. over here was blasting Miley Cyrus's Party in the USA. Story 56. Finally, I can tell this story. Local La Fitness. Super bronze old guy, ripped, a little big, but also a weird physique. Not the pure bodybuilder symmetry at all. Very vascular. The adjustable bench in front of the mirror. Sets it at deep incline. Climbs on, grabs a propositioned plate, 45. Cranks out 20 full sit-ups with the plate. Wow, impressive. He's gonna do 3 sets of that? Nope. Next set, 3 plates. Strapped together. On his chest. Done single-handed. But you can't get a clean rep with 3 plates on your chest. Increases set by setup to 6 plates on his chest. Strapped together. Single-handed. All while everyone else is doing their thing. You're looking over as you do buys, and some dude is literally ratchet strapping 6 plates together on his chest. Declined before doing sets of sit-ups. But imagine 6 plates on your chest on a decline. Not like you can get a clean, full sit-up. The whole thing was like this huge process just to get these shorty reps. And do you really need to do sit-ups with 270 on your chest to get abs? As a 55-plus guy, had to have the strongest abs in the country. Story 57. In the cardio room at my local Cal Fitness, and I look up, and there just happens to be a man in the most colorful, tight-fitting workout outfit I've ever seen. Sunglasses. Why? We're inside? And a parrot chilling on his shoulder. A ducking parrot he wasn't even working out, and I don't even know if he could with a whole-ass bird on his shoulder. He was just casually standing in the hallway chatting up a few gym goers like it's the most typical Tuesday afternoon. I still can't believe it to this day, and I haven't seen him since. Story 58. A man asked me if he could work in while I was on the leg press. I said no, as I was almost done on the machine. I also find it unsanitary to use the machine after someone else without wiping it down, and I didn't want to get up and wipe down during every rest. He then told me he was doing a circuit, and I had to get off the machine for him. I told him the circuit machines were upstairs. He said there was no leg press upstairs. I told him he would have to wait for me to finish. He then started arguing with me and telling me he had to use the machine, so I have to get off. I refused. He continued arguing, so I put in my headphones and continued my workout. I saw him complain to a gym attendant and was visibly angry, pointing at me. But the attendant shook his head, and the angry man walked away. I'm a 5'5", and 125 pounds girl, so he probably thought he could bully me out of the weightlifting area because he's a buff man. It pisses me off to this day. Story 59. I'm a 21F alone at a new gym, which happens to be filled with a lot of much older men. After getting some uncomfortable stares at the squat rack, I moved to a smaller side room. I started doing single arm exercises with a decently heavy weight for someone my size. I can see that an older man, ~70S, is watching me from right outside the room. I try to ignore him, but he gets up and starts walking towards me. He starts praising me and saying, "Wow, look at you, lifting such a heavy weight. You're a strong girl." To which I responded with an uncomfortable laugh. He continued, "You know, I just really don't have the grip strength for something like that," and lifts up one of his arms to show me that he, in fact, had no hand. I appreciate the humor and wonder how many times he's practiced this joke, but also please don't approach me while I'm working out. Story 60. Weird, but kind of funny. Was working out with my cousin, and we suddenly heard a woman screaming, "Stop! Stop that right now!" There was a kid peering in through the glass, and turned out he had his hand down his pants. He screamed back at presumably his mom, "Why? It feels happy funny." Story 61. Dead silence at Planet Fitness. Everyone has headphones in. My Bluetooth headphones died, so it was already weird just being in a room full of heavy breathing. All of a sudden, Super Guy comes out. Cut off sweatpants, sleeveless hoodie, sweet-ass mullet. I'm not in great shape, but this dude was Homer Simpson with a mullet. He goes to the weight bench, does his stretches, lays down on the bench, no weights mind you, and just starts belting out Creed with arms wide open silence. Story 62. I'm a 5'6" inches female, about 170 pounds. I'm aware that's overweight, but I feel like generally I carry it well, and I have a very physically demanding job, so I have more muscle than any of my female friends. Anyway, I acknowledge that I'm overweight, so I hit the gym when I have time for some Pilates and treadmill time. Once I was on the treadmill going at an easy jog, and these 2 girls next to me were obviously making fun of me, like non-discreetly pointing behind their hands, stage whispering I could totally hear. Apparently I was stomping like a rhino and trying to cause an avalanche, because, you know, when someone overweight is trying to get some exercise to be healthy, of course you make fun of them and make them feel ugly and crafty. Story 63. A Bally's gym in Hollywood back in the 90s. I'd go after work to swim laps, take a sauna, and sit in the large jacuzzi. One time, 3 guys thought they'd just start giving each other handies while casually sitting in the jacuzzi. Frankly, I was looking the other way and didn't really notice what was happening. But 2 older Russian women did, and they started to pitch a fit in Russian, and one of them quickly brought it to the attention of an attendant. I couldn't help but chuckle as the trio was forced to do the walk of shame back into the men's locker room. Related pet peeve, people not showering before entering a pool or jacuzzi, particularly in a gym where they might have just finished working out. Please, people don't want to sit in your bacteria, fecal waste. I'm retired now and go in my jacuzzi about 12 times a day. You can bet that sucker is fresh as a daisy. Story 64. One time was helping film an instructional video for my ex while she was in school for personal training. We'd been there for about an hour before doing our own workouts. There was one other guy in the gym, and as soon as we had the camera rolling, he kept trying to walk in front of it and flexing and started grunting loudly while doing his workouts. After he walked in front of the camera again, we told him that he didn't make the cut and all his scenes will be deleted, and then pointed a sign that stated, "Please refrain from any loud or excessive grunting." Story 65. I used to go to the gym with my dad, and I called him Dad while we were talking there because, well, he's my dad. So this random woman comes to me in a very nasty and demeaning tone and says, "Why the hell do you keep calling that man Dad?" I was like, 'Cause he's my dad? And she was like, "Yeah, but you don't have to call him that at the gym. It's weird." And I said, "Why is it weird? He is literally my father." And she was like, "Oh, okay," and left. I was the most confused I've ever been in my life, Lamau. Story 66. One time I was using this machine, and a guy came up next to it and just stared at me. I wiped it down and he asked if I was done so he could use it. Like, no, I wasn't really done, but I quit early, BC. You were staring at me, creeper. I don't know if it's super weird, but it made me feel uncomfortable. Story 67. I was approached and asked out on a date by a big, beefy dude. Right after he gave me his number, he started talking about how much he hates our prime minister. We're in Canada. And the terrible things he would do to his family if he ever met them, without prompt. Not only did I not call him, I adjusted my gym routine time to try to avoid him in the future. Story 68. This massive, roided-out hulk of a person was doing bench press. He's just yelling the entire time he's putting up the weight. "Date!" Something like that. Suddenly he racks the bar loud as can be and is screaming at his spotter. "You ruined my whole set! You ruined my whole set! I was going till failure!" He then walks over to the wall and puts both hands on the wall and shrieks in anger. Like, "Nigga!" Then storms off to the locker room. Literally, everyone in the free weight section had stopped to watch this unfold. Story 69. Not my gym, but my boyfriend's. I went with him too. There's a man who frequents this gym, and he's about 60. He wore a skin-tight spandex outfit in hot pink that showed off his chest. Think an 80s workout video. My boyfriend says this is a common occurrence. He also walks around the gym, reeking of women's perfume, doing zigzag patterns for attention so that everyone sees him, and make sure to walk in front of the machines being used even if the gym is empty. He's weirdly in pretty good shape and will stay at the gym doing this song and dance for 2 hours on the regular. Story 70. If you were gay, you'd make a hot bear. Oh, okay. Well, compliment is compliment, and I was grateful edit. I edited the part when he said, "If you were not gay." Story 71. Oh, I got one. This ducking set me off beyond belief. I'm lifting in the gym with a friend. The gym is empty. It's a gym in my apt complex, and it's like a weekday at 12. This guy who I recognize comes in with his wife. The wife has a stroller with a baby in it. I'm like, okay. They want to work out but have nowhere to put the baby. No big deal. The couple are working out off to the side while my friend and I are benching. I stop paying attention to them completely, and I'm focusing on working out. All of a sudden, I get a whiff of crap. Okay, the baby pooped, I guess. Now I'm getting a little upset because I'm trying to work out and it smells like crap. Whatever. I keep working out. About 5 minutes later, I look over my shoulder and the mom is ducking, changing the baby's diaper on a yoga mat. There are bathrooms right there. I ducking use yoga mats to stretch, and you're gonna change your baby's diaper on the yoga mat. What the duck? I hair people sometimes. Story 72. A 50-yo-plus man was discreetly following a very fit and attractive early 20s girl to all the machines she was using, then sniffing the seat after she used the machine. I saw him do it a few times, then I walked over to him and said, "You're a ducking creep, you know that?" He looked at me extremely surprised and shocked, then quickly left the gym, as if he thought nobody would see him doing that. Story 73. A guy running on a treadmill next to me spat on the treadmill. I couldn't believe anyone could be such a ducking swine, so I thought maybe I hadn't seen it right, but he proceeded to do it again a bit later. Both spits kept on turning on the treadmill over and over as I watched in disbelief. Story 74. Doing some barbell corner rows. I'm standing over it, ready to go, feet planted. I'm actually just waiting for the beat to drop in my headphones for that extra psychological push. Yes, I know. I glance up and see a short but nicely built younger guy watching me from a couple of benches over. He smiles and gives me a, "You got this," kind of fist pump. I drop my head and pull. The weight's flying up, form solid, etc. Great set. When it's done, the guy steps over. Him. "Dude, that's a heavyweight. Do you compete?" Me. "Haha, thank you. But no." Him. "Are you training for a sport or something?" Me. "Oh, no. Him. So why?" Me. "I just really enjoy it. This is the best part of my day." Him. Story 75. There was what I can only describe as a pack of feral teenagers on one of the pull-down machines. They had engaged about 15 pounds and were taking turns doing sets. Every time one finished a set, he would yell, "Woof woof big dog," at his friends. My partner and I could not stop laughing. Now, when we finish a challenging set, one will say to the other in the quietest whisper, "Meow, meow, small cat. Never saw that guy again. Meow, meow, small cat." Story 76. When I was in high school, I wasn't much of an athlete, but to graduate, we were required to get an athletic credit. One loophole was to log hours spent working out at the gym of our local college. One day I was working out there when I noticed this dude watching me. I'm not a gym rat by any means, and so I thought maybe my form was wrong. I don't know. Eventually, he approached me, asked if I had a girlfriend I didn't, and invited me to a party. I was a little weirded out. Why is this stranger inviting a 15-year-old white kid to his college party? He explained that the point of the party was that he and some dudes would be there making out, so we can practice for our girlfriends so we don't suck at kissing. Yeah, I didn't go to that party. Story 77. I was working out at the gym in my apartment during the middle of the workday, and it was totally empty. I was using a mat in the yoga area when an elderly woman came in while FaceTiming someone, sat directly next to me, and set up the camera leaning against the wall at an angle where we were both clearly in the frame. Mind you, the whole area is about 50 feet long, and she is now within 5 feet of me. It turns out she was FaceTiming a personal trainer. As soon as she got set up, he told her to stretch, and he would be back in a minute. Well, he came back with 2 slices of pizza and ate them while directing her to do exercises such as dribbling a yoga ball like a basketball. I left after a few minutes of this. Story 78. Doing some dumbbell presses on a random bench, and some guy just comes up to me, points at me, and just bananas his head to the side and said, "Lebanese?" Befuddled by the question, I just laugh and say, "Nope, I'm from here." Guy walked away, and as I'm putting my headphones back in, I hear him say to his buddy, "Could have sworn he was Lebanese." Story 79. The weirdest experience was not getting any body-shaming comments at all. If you read Reddit, you'll get the impression that gyms are full of bodybuilders who laugh at you for trying to get in shape. But when I got there many years ago, I was met by people not giving a crap. Not a comment, not a look, nothing. The amount of conversation going on is, at most, something along the line, "Hey, do you need that barbell?" Story 80. Very fit and attractive woman working out and stops to rest. Grabs a giant bottle of Hershey's chocolate syrup that's on the floor next to the machine and chugs a ton from it. Finishes, and with multiple people looking on in wonder as I was, goes, "Ah!" Wipes her mouth and continues with her workout, to the amazement of the many slack-jawed onlookers like she didn't notice everyone looking at her. Found out later, she cleaned out a giant bottle of Hershey's chocolate syrup and used it as her water bottle in order to get that exact reaction from people. Story 81. This was turning into the gym parking lot, but I hope it still counts. I was about to turn left into the entrance of the gym parking lot when I saw a man jogging about to cross the entrance. I waved him across, indicating, "Go ahead, I'll wait till you're across to turn." The guy runs to my car, opens the back door, and gets into my back seat. I yell, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Sorry, I thought you were giving me a ride." In what world? I was so baffled that he would take a small wave to mean, "Get in my car, you creepy stranger." Story 82. Old naked dude would take a shower, come out butt naked, and put his leg on the bench while he cleaned his balls, taint, and banana. And this son of a git would choose a locker right next to the entrance, so as soon as you'd walk in there, it was a 65 White-A-O man's asshole. Story 83. There was a guy that looked kind of like David Crosby in a tie-dye shirt. He'd just stand in the middle of the gym, staring at nothing. Then would go to the lat pull-down machine, sit there with his hands on the bar for a few moments, then get up and go back to staring and standing, picked up one of the EZ bars. Held it, put it back, went to a couple more cable machines, never doing more than holding a bar or rope. Just kind of got a creepy vibe from him. Don't know if he was staring at women in the gym or was tripping or what, but something just felt off. Story 84. Friend and I were working out when an older man, mid-60s maybe, came up to us to ask us to spot him. He looked kind of lumpy and maybe a little frail, but when we walked over to his bench, dude had something like 400 pounds loaded on the bench press bar. He told us to count for him too, but loudly so he can hear us. We were just focused on not letting this man get crushed when he unracked the bar and just started pumping away, growling like a damn monster. He started yelling at us to count for him because we had completely forgotten in the shock. Dude knocked out like 20 reps. He racked the bar, said thank you, and just walked out of the weight room. We just stood there shocked for the longest time. Story 85. A cat, about 11 pounds, white, gray, and tawny, stared me dead in the eyes and just took a crap not 10 feet from me. Didn't give a duck. I should note that I have a home gym. Story 86. I was on the Stairmaster, and there were 2 spots open next to me. This couple began using them. It's been about 10 minutes of them working out next to me, and I begin to hear the woman moaning. I looked over and her eyes are closed, and she's just going to town on the Stairmaster. I then hear her husband cheering her on like, "You can do it, baby, you got this." It was incredibly awkward. Like, her moans weren't workout moans, they sounded like sex moans. Story 87. It mostly occurs when I'm in the locker room at the gym. People tend to stare, and it's super uncomfortable. Whenever you stare back at them, They immediately look away and try to make it seem like they weren't staring at you in the first place. Story 88. Lady in the locker room comes up to me while I'm changing out of my swimsuit and asks if I use the spin thing to dry out my suit, which I told her I did. She then goes into this long tangent about how terrible those things are for swimwear, all while I'm just standing there awkwardly with my suit halfway down my waist. After a while, I finish getting dressed and leave. I never saw her before and never saw her again. Weirder still, the spin dryer kept mysterious breaking over the next 2 weeks. I'm still sure it was her. Story 89. I had an older guy come up to me and ask me if I was a part of some biker gang because of my gun tattoos. I froze mid-workout and asked, "What?" Then he lifted his shirt and showed me his giant biker gang tattoo on his fluffy stomach, and I said, "No, sir. This is music-related," and I never saw him again. Story 90. My friend and I dubbed one young guy's ex-sound guy. He was at the gym pretty much each time we went. Now, our gym is small compared to most. Just one of those ones attached to the local library that a lot of old folks go to. SG would always lift weights, and during every lift, he would make really loud groaning sounds like he was faking it in an 18-plus movie. Story 91. I've just got this one lady who comes in an hour before it closes. She looks like she's straight out of the 70s with super curly black hair, a sweatband, leg warmers, arm warmers, tights, and neon everything. She even wears blue eyeshadow and red lipstick and super heavy eyeliner and drawn-on eyebrows. She's super tame, though, just a sight to see. She does her simple workout, but usually makes conversation with most people she sees. What a lovely, yet strange woman. Story 92. Not sure if this was planned or an act of coincidence. A year or two ago, I go to my gym in the evening and one guy starts to sing, "I'll Make a Man Out of You" out loud from Disney's Mulan. Next thing I know, a few other guys sing along with him. Wish I took a video. Guys did a decent job of singing it. Story 93. The bathroom sex toy. Walked in to go wash my hands and went straight to the sink. In the mirror over to the side, you can see the locker area. I look up and took a double take because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Dude was naked except for cowboy boots with hard banana in hand, spread eagle on the bench. I give the obligatory, "What a hell, man? Go tell one of the managers there's a guy jacking it in the bathroom." He says, "Not again," runs in there with another employee, and asks him to leave permanently. Story 94. A few years ago at my old gym, I was on the treadmill doing a long-distance session, which was placed so you could see everyone else in the gym. About 5 minutes in, a guy in his 50s comes in with a handlebar mustache, wearing tracksuit bottoms and a blue wife-beater vest which proudly showed off his copious, curly black back hair. He proceeded to spend the next 30 minutes walking around all the gym equipment in one big circle and did so over and over again while stretching his arms and then promptly left. Good workout. Story 95. While I was finishing a set, a 50-odd-year-old ripped dude walked up and told me he needed the equipment, and I told him I only had one more set left, and then he could have it. He walked closer, almost touching noses with me. Chest bumped me really hard out of nowhere, and then walked away. He then proceeded to scream through his reps until I was finished. Told her. 50-year-old chest bumped me and screamed, but not in bro fashion. Story 96. Dudes having a modeling, bodybuilding, pose coaching session in their boxers in the locker room bonus. Technically on my way home from the gym, but I saw sundogs for the first time. Story 97. My old gym had a guy we called Birdman because absolutely every rep he would cry out "caw" like a crow. Every single rep. Nice guy, but damn, that was never not weird. Story 98. I went into the sauna and a few idiots were still wearing their gym clothes and sneakers. They were looking at me weird for having a towel and flip-flops on. Story 99. This guy clearly on steroids and red as a lobster staring every guy in the gym TF down after every time he did a set of anything. Could be deadlifts or anything else, but he'd take at least 15, 30 seconds between sets to just stare down guys that were weaker than him. Some people, man. Story 100. It was me the other day. I did an entire workout with a panty liner stuck to the back of my leg. I'm a woman, but I don't use panty liners. Nobody in my house uses panty liners. And I didn't go to the bathroom or even sit down anywhere while I was at the gym. It was a Hyatt class. I'm pretty sure it was an unused panty liner. I hope so. Story 101. At hardcore powerlifting gyms, they have huge chains you attach to barbells to increase the weight as the links lift off the floor, and decrease the weight as you lower it to allow them to rest on the floor for the hardest part of the lift. One dude in particular would usually wear a set around his neck, like a necklace, while sitting in some type of leg extension machine with hardly any weight. Made no sense. Story 102. I see this frail, old Asian man come to the gym frequently. I can always expect a weird ass-looking workout from him. There is this one he does every time. It looks like a push-up, but instead of using his upper body, he moves his hips. He stabilizes his arms while he does hip thrusts and humps the floor repeatedly. That crap makes me laugh every time. Story 103. I was doing backloaded walking lunges across the workout area, and every time I twisted towards the cable machines, this middle-aged bald dude wearing a Wonder Woman t-shirt was staring dead-eyed at me like I was a sandwich, and he hadn't eaten in a week. I finally began to understand how every female in the gym, and everywhere else too, always feels, all of the time. Story 104. One time I forgot gym pants, so I ran in my XL pajama bottoms. I'm a MS. They fell from my waist and I tripped off the treadmill into a glass wall. Maybe not the weirdest tale here, but was probably weird for the poor people jogging next to me. Story 105. Lady who left the bathroom stall door open so she could talk to / watch her friend from the toilet. The way the bathrooms were situated made it so that she was the first thing you saw as you turned the corner. Also, she was eating from a meal prep type Tupperware. I about turned about and left. Story 106. Where do I begin? Guy eating spinach between sets. Guy lays down with the hood on his hoodie up between deadlift sets. With 135 pounds on the bar, walk into the locker room to a guy pinching both his nipples while looking in the mirror. The list goes on. Story 107. Had a midget walk up to me, puff out his chest, and then proceeded to bench 300 pounds. Honestly, the most hyped I've ever been. Dude almost lost balance, but he pulled through. Story 108. In any men's locker room in the United States, there will be an old man hiking his leg up on a sink and using a hairdryer to blow dry his dangly old man balls for all to see. Story 109. Been lifting for 14 years, but unfortunately nothing special. One dude came up to me and said I'm doing gay movements and I shouldn't do those. Still remember that.